Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Sounds like
I hope this is live right now.
I hope you know I don't edit any of this out anymore, but
I noticed. I did notice that, yeah. Welcome to the Stupid Nerdcast! Today we got our very special guest, Raziel something as Zach, and starring Juan as level 20 Cleric. And of course, the greatest person of all time, Stupid Nerdman as Jordan. I also noticed that I never actually introduce everyone the same. Like, I always say Zach is Raziel, or Raziel is Zach, but then if I say Zach is Raziel, then I say level 20 Cleric is Juan, instead of the other way around, where it's all the same convention.
There's no rhyme or reason to your announcing.
yeah, I also noticed you missed Matt this time.
Oh, right, and we have Matt as... Well, we have the ghost of... the spirit of Matt as Matt. Spider-Matt. My bad. I'm sorry, Matt. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
You deserved all those racial slurs he just threw at you.
Yeah, I know. He's just berating me right now. I hope we're gonna have to edit out his berating so that I don't get banned from YouTube or Twitch. Okay. Anyway. Zach, what did you want to talk about?
What?
You said you wanted to start it off with like things that happened throughout the week. I assume you have something you want to talk about that happened throughout the week that you wanted to start off with.
My dog broke your iPad.
Yeah, that happened. Well, it's not really her fault. She's a dog. I was stupid and I brought it downstairs and I didn't think about it and I didn't keep myself slightly far enough away from her that she wouldn't be able to just claw it out of my freaking hand. Not her fault.
You also
though.
don't come and actually spend any time with her, so she's always like, oh, Jordan's gonna spend time with me right now.
Well, I mean, I don't come downstairs that often, so it's not like I go down there to play with her all the time. When I do go over, I play with her all the time, but when I don't go down there just to play with her.
No, most of the time you come down here, she is in place, and she is just sitting there while everybody eats.
And I go to place and I pet her. And I play with her.
I know, but the difference is she was out of place, she was ready to be played with, given attention to, and then you came down here, gave her a little bit of attention, and then went back to your iPad.
Well, I had an objective.
Yes, but she's intelligent. She knew that was what was distracting you from her. So she smacked it out of your hand.
That makes sense.
She tries to knock... this week I've been rereading Invincible. She's tried to knock that out of my hand the whole time I'm reading it.
I am also rereading Invincible. I got to the point where, spoiler alert for Invincible for anyone who wants to watch or is currently reading it and hasn't read it up to where it's current. I got to the point just now where I caught up to the point where Omni-Man and Invincible get into the big fight and he leaves. I feel like that was far enough to actually talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, but I still want to cover other things throughout the week. I want to get into Invincible in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Warframe came out with a new update. It just added the other half of the 2.90 or whatever update. Which gave us a cool skin for our railjack that makes it look all spectral and ghosty.
And then Sevagoth or whatever, right? Just
Sevagoth.
Valkyr and just looks like Valkyr and Revenant like smashed together.
Kind of. Looks a little Zephyr in there too, like with the long face and shit. I thought he actually was Zephyr Deluxe. I didn't actually realize that was his own Warframe for a minute.
Yeah. It's kind of cool how he has like an apparition like lower half though. Like it's definitely unique.
I haven't finished unlocking him yet, only because the quests take a bit of time and I don't have all of the Railjack nodes open, and you need enough of them to get to the the relic spots pretty reliably, and I can't always.
I'm pretty sure his parts are behind like a 5% drop chance on every third loot rotation.
Oh no, they are. Okay, so Railjack. Jordan's already like fucking muted himself and like deafened us already. But
I don't deafen you because if you say something I need to hear, I make sure that I can hear it. But I did mute myself. You're right.
Anyway, so for the Railjack version of like the relic openings, it's just a Railjack mission, and it doesn't always have like an extended whatever version, an endless version. So it can be like an exterminate or whatever. And when you complete the mission, there's like a bonus reward that you get, and it will be stuff like void traces to like make your relics better, or it has a chance of being Sevagoth.
Gotcha.
So, and I believe right now, I don't know if this is going to stay true or if it's actually true, but on the wiki, this is what it says, or said at the time that last time I looked at it, which is that on every difficulty of a void relic that you do in Railjack has a chance of dropping it. So it doesn't actually matter how strong it is or whatever. You can just do the super easy ones over and over again if you get a good super easy one that spawns.
Man, I just remember ever since like fucking Octavia, I think it was, like they just kept putting all the Warframe parts on like these super low drop chance endless missions. So you're sitting there for hours just hoping to get it.
I don't think they were ever that low. I think the problem is that I think one piece had a lower drop chance than the other two, and they were all on the last rotation. And it was like it would be split between like the three pieces and then like maybe two other drops. And they would basically all have the same drop chance with one piece being slightly less. So they'd be like 18, 13 or something % chance, and it was like on rotation C, and that was kind of a pain.
Yeah, just slowed it down, and then like you get screwed and get like 2 chassis in a row or something. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. One of the ones that's like really good for it though is the what are they called? I can't remember what they're called. It's a special mission type. It has like you kill enemies and they drop like a key, and you put the key in the thing and then you defend it for a few seconds.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It was the
It's
one
like
with the
disruption
rope
or something.
Yeah.
That one you always can get B and C. Like you don't ever have to ever get A, which means you can get if you have it on C, you have every 4 so every 4 rotations, instead of getting A, B, C, it can be B, B, C, C.
That's pretty nice.
So, I mean, those ones you can basically never not have C. And then there's another one, too. I don't remember what the other one is, but there's like another one where it's like A, B, C, 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 infinitely. And I don't remember which one that one is either. I think that's the one endless, the fucking super fucking broken ones. The ones where everything's like super strong. No, not Steel Path, the other one. The one that's like next door. It's like similar people. They're the guys who care about honor or whatever. They're the blade guys. I don't remember what they're called. I'm like super
Arbiters?
friendly with them. Yes, the arbiters, the arbitrations. That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
Like those ones, I think they go A, B, C, C, C infinitely. And those are, so anything you want on C, those ones are actually pretty decent. Once you get to C, you can basically just get C forever.
It's a lot better than having to sit through 3 waves of it's going to be nothing, and then you finally get to the one you want.
Yeah. I don't remember though when the endless, the fucking old endless for relics was actually like, it's arguably worse, but it's also arguably better, because you would put in 1 relic and you do survival for like 40 minutes and get like 3 prime parts or something.
Yeah.
Instead of now where it's like you had to use a relic every single time. I don't know. It's like close.
Pros and cons to both systems.
Yeah. The worst system is the one between the two. The one where we got rid of the old system. We started with the Rift system, but before the Rift system became what it is now.
Yeah.
Because that one was fucking borked. There was no endless version, and the fucking guys who dropped the fucking reactant or whatever would like not always spawn, so you didn't always get 10. Ugh, that was so fucking annoying.
That was even worse. Like when you you loaded into like an exterminate mission, and everyone's like halfway done. You're like, well, I guess I'm just not getting it.
Well, in with the original way it was done, that's how it is like kind of now. But the original way it was done, well, they kind of fixed that now in the fact that exterminate, nothing actually stops spawning until you until when you get the thing. So you actually can still try to get 10 even if they're almost halfway done. The only ones where you probably aren't going to get 10 is the fucking lift ones. But the old way was that you had to go find the rift, then stuff would spawn out of the rift, and then you had like 2 minutes to get your 10 reactant to close the rift. And it wouldn't always spawn 10 guys who carried the reactant. And like the other thing would be like the guy who would carry the reactant would spawn, and then he'd run to the end of the map, so you couldn't close it because he would just go away. It was stuff like that, and then if you fail to close the rift, you just fail the missions. You just lose out on everything. The equivalent to that now is the Railjack mission Volatile, which spawns these like little things that you have to break to like keep the reactor like in this overheat state. And the things spawn on your mini map, but their icons don't always show up on your HUD. So it's like really fucking annoying because you have to run around. You have to be watching your mini map the whole fucking time to watch the little icon spawn, and then you have to run over there and break the thing so that it keeps it in the right temperature for the Railjack to hack it. It's fucking really annoying. And if you fail, the fail timer is like 20 seconds or something. It's like a 20-second window, and if you fail, you just lose everything, and it takes you so long to even get there. Ugh, that one's rough. I hope the next time they touch Railjack, they fix those missions, because I do not like them.
Yeah. Man, every time I talk about Warframe, I'm like, well, maybe I could pick it up again, but I'm like, fuck, I have to start all over with nothing, because all my progress is on Xbox.
Yeah. And the only problem with, like, fucking... Oh, and anybody who's interested in playing Warframe, or who's currently playing Warframe and taking some time off, and hasn't played for an anniversary event, it is currently the anniversary event, so you get all the fucking anniversary shit, all the guns, all the skins... Everything is tied to that. It's a good time to play like right now, but I have everything because I've been playing for 8 fucking years. And they gave me a rhino skin this year, so that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really play rhino, but fine. Maybe it'll encourage me to play him again.
He's definitely one of those good, like, beginner-friendly Warframes.
Yeah. He's very much that. I don't know. I don't think I have anything really to talk about besides that, maybe.
I mean, my reroll to Paladin has been going great compared to how it was going with Death Knight. So, there's that.
Really?
Because Paladins are just absolutely retarded right now. They are just so blatantly unfair, and Blizzard doesn't seem to want to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Because we've gone through, at least 4 or 5 major patches, and they haven't received a single nerf since Shadowland launched.
Maybe they're trying to do it the other way and try to bring everybody else, like tweak other things, like maybe tweak gear distribution or other classes, like try to bring up covenants, because like trying to figure out what exactly makes them overpowered. Because sometimes it feels like this is what makes them overpowered, and then it could also be like that's also the thing that kind of defines their class. So maybe they want to do something else to the other classes to bring what they define up higher, so it breaks it out. But I don't know. I haven't played Paladin enough in this current version, and I haven't played against Paladin. I don't PvP in World of Warcraft anymore.
Right. Like in a PvE setting, there's definitely some other classes that kind of outshine them when it comes to like damage or even tanking and stuff, but they bring just like a lot of utility to the group in PvE settings. But PvP, it's just It's nutty because I can just fucking throw out my wings, turn on all my cooldowns, and then hit bubble, and there's literally nothing you can do about the fact that I'm pumping 20 to 30,000 damage a second into someone's face.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I feel like it was fair back in the day when the bubble would make you do half damage or you couldn't attack or something, but I can just go completely unabated. There's nothing they can do unless they're a priest or a freaking warrior. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely seems a little unfair.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I can't really comment. I don't PvP in World of Warcraft. Maybe I would if I was playing a paladin again. Maybe I'd decide I want to PvP a little bit. But maybe I won't. I don't know.
9.1 Demon Hunter is supposed to be getting some single target buffs. I think they're going to have a real good spot in here PvP as well. So your Demon Hunter would be a good choice.
That's cool. I like how my Demon Hunter is actually a second main for me as compared to how I've played before in the past, where I've had multiple characters, but one was the one I actually played, and the other ones were just I don't know if I even want to play this anymore, and I just leave them at level 20 and shit.
Right.
And then it's I got this Demon Hunter, and it's they not only hit 60, they got good gear, they got their gear I score fucking 190 already almost.
Yeah, you're sad, man.
So I mean, it's already a decent character who can go into doing Mythic Plus. If we need a tank, I can swap over a tank spec and be able to do shit, and I can do the same with the Warlock is the limitation of I'm always gonna be fucking damage.
Yeah, that's why I like playing classes that have at least 2 roles,
Yeah. Unless my shaman gets up, then I'll have a healer.
There you go.
I don't know if I
ever
ever
want Druid to catch up.
What now?
Yeah, Druid.
Wait, oh, you mean item level wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach just told me about how I can boost my item level today. So, by actually upgrading my stuff, and it should be relative, so... And also my renown is still super low. I don't know why I'm so bad at getting renown.
We need to run you through... Yeah, just run heroics, battlegrounds even, Castle Nathria, any of those will get you a shit ton of renown pretty quick.
Yeah, it's just we got to do stuff on the weekend, and then everything during the week, anything you do is just going to be cleaning up stuff, and then we'll just have the weekend where we actually play, and this is where we achieve stuff. And then through the week is any cleanup that you're able to do.
Right. Since I can't play very often on the weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully I'll be playing... What?
I was gonna say my paladin's already at 192, I think. So, yeah, dude, just gotta do some stuff.
Right. I think I made it up to one. I'm 184, I think, right now.
That's good. That's definitely good enough to start doing mythics and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was already good enough to do mythics, weren't we?
Mythic zeros, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now I can do better mythics.
Pushing keys.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, my Warlock's been able to push keys, and now my fucking Demon Hunter can too, so... Yeah. I have 2 options for if I want to push keys.
And I got some... I don't have a legendary yet for, Feral, but I do have Feral as my off-spec when I want to just do damage and don't want to heal, so there's always that for when your brother-in-law wants to heal.
There you go.
So
just make sure you set up a Feral conduit chain.
I already did.
Oh, okay.
That's why we have the mount speed when I was in Feral, because that's part of it.
That's interesting. Did you look up who's probably the best person to compliment you as Feral?
I did a long time ago when I was still just focusing on Resto. I think I picked the one I'm supposed to. Well, not supposed to, but the one that would be best to compliment him, but I'm not completely sure. I should probably look it up again.
Yeah. That's one of the other things that sold me on Venthyr was because they're yeah, sure, Nadia or whatever is really good for fucking Vengeance, not Vengeance, Havoc, because fucking what is it, Thrill Seeker or whatever, it pops multiple times a boss fight every raid. Like I've always had that like fucking 20% haste. I like have it all the time.
That is nice.
But then in addition to that, when you go Vengeance, you have Draven, and he has like 3 fucking endurance spots if you need it.
Hell yeah.
So I mean, you could be so fucking tanky with Draven, and some of this stuff is so good. Like the I had to choose between like a last endurance spot, which was like pretty good to have like another endurance spot, or a potency spot to get his like capstone, which is like the potency will give me like the additional stamina. Every time I'm like standing still, I just like build up stamina. And then there's like the finesse one, which is also kind of good, which is like you get agility when you're over 80% HP.
Nice.
And it's like, but I don't have any good finesse shit, so it's like I can't really pick that one. There's like almost no good finesse Demon Hunter conduits, which is the other problem. But maybe there's a decent one for Vengeance, I don't know. I know there's like no good ones for Havoc, but maybe one of the Vengeance ones is good.
Yeah, I figured they would have had like some killer ones, because finesse is all about like movement and utility and shit. Like I figured they would have had like something cool for like their Fell Rush or something along those lines.
You have like the only one worth equipping is Fell Rush gives you movement speed after you use it. And that's like it.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, but the other ones are like garbage. So it's like, why do you have 2 finesse slots? Oh, I guess I have an empty dead slot because the other finesse ones aren't worth having.
Like my paladin only has like 2 kind of good ones. There's one that makes my steed last a lot longer, and there's another one that makes to where like Blessing of Freedom gives a tiny speed boost, and Blessing of Sacrifice gives a tiny damage reduction boost. So it's like they're helpful, but they're not like game changers.
Yeah, I don't think my Warlock has very good ones. I think they have like a bunch of okay ones. Like you can put these ones in if you feel like it, and then it's got like one really good one, which is the Fell Dominance or whatever. Is that what it's called? The one that like reduces the cooldown of Summon Demon but to 0.5 seconds. Like it reduces the cooldown of that instead of like 3 minutes goes down, or 4 minutes. No, it's like 3 minutes down to like 2 minutes or something.
That's pretty good.
So that's the one that I have equipped. Almost all my stuff is, I think all the ones I have equipped on my Warlock are 184. I think one of them is 200 maybe. Because I think I got one when we did something. No. Probably got one from a world boss or something.
Yeah, the world bosses will sometimes give them to you, and then like those purple cachets you can get from the dailies, they'll sometimes hand them out too.
Yeah. I know fucking Western Ham can give you one too, but that's a ton of fucking Stygia for that one. F.A.B.N.A.M can give you one. But yeah, I think that's probably enough about World of Warcraft.
That was some pretty good insight, Matt, about a game that you don't play. Jeez. Listen to him just talking about World of Warcraft all over the place.
So I wanted to talk about Invincible, Jordan.
Go ahead.
Predominantly, I wanted to talk about like a bunch of the differences between the show and the comic. For the show up to like episode 5, because that's as far as I've seen. Kind of episode 6, because I understand, or I know what most of what's going to be in episode 6. But
is episode 5 when they beat up Power Lion or whatever his name is?
You mean Battle Beast?
Battle Beast, yeah.
When they got their ass kicked by Battle Beast?
Yeah, I haven't reread that far in the comic yet, but it's already in the show, so it's out of order from what happened in the comic, but I do remember it happening, and it pretty much happens almost very similar to how it happens in the comic, just out of order.
The difference is the damage he does to Monster Girl in the show is done to Rex.
Right, yeah.
He doesn't attack Monster Girl that much. I think he injures Invincible, but like not that bad. I think not as bad as he does in the show. But
yeah, I know. In the freaking show, he got injured as bad as he got beaten by Omni-Man.
Yeah,
and that was crazy.
Yeah, so also for one, so Invincible is a comic done by Image Comics. It's actually, in the comic version, it is in the Image universe, so stuff like Savage Dragon and Spawn and stuff do cameos every once in a while.
Okay.
But basically they have a version of the Justice League that is called the Guardians of the Globe. And their version of Superman, who is Omni-Man, is Invincible's father, and Invincible is the title character.
Is it Omni-Man who's Superman, or would it be the Immortal who's Superman?
They both are.
They're both Superman. Okay.
Yes. Immortal's also kind of... He's like Superman if he was Captain America born in, like, the 13th century.
All right.
It's complicated. I'll get into Immortal in a bit. So the Guardians of the Globe, they basically represent a version of, like, their version of the Justice League. Almost every Justice League character has a counterpart in the Guardians, almost exactly. They have Martian Man, who is basically Martian Manhunter. They have Green Ghost, who is very
Green
similar
Ghost.
to Green Lantern.
And is a girl in the show and is a guy in the comic.
Yes, that's another point. There are a few points that Robert Kirkman, who is the author of Invincible, he also wrote The Walking Dead, which is kind of important. He's made a few comments throughout the comic that you can tell. But Invincible started in like the late to mid 2000s, and finished somewhere in the 2010s. So this new show is now in 2020.
So it needs to be politically correct.
Yeah. And Kirkman
it's not a big deal. It's fine.
Well, I mean, Kirkman's also involved in the current show. Mm-hmm. As compared to, I think, The Walking Dead, or like anybody who's watched Game of Thrones knows the authors aren't really involved in either of those two shows. Whereas in Invincible, Kirkman is involved, which means a lot of changes are okayed by him. It's like they're not just random changes for no reason. And one of the things that he mentions very late in Invincible is that there are way too many fucking male superheroes and not enough women ones. He actually like makes that comment in the comic. So it's clear that when a bunch of the superheroes' genders were changed, it was probably intentional to make up that difference that existed in the comic.
Yeah.
Because it's not just him. It's the whole Image universe. There's just way too many male superheroes versus female counterparts, and there doesn't seem to be any reason for why it is.
Right, yeah.
Like it's just, there's just more men. And it's like, but there aren't more men. Like, you know what I mean? So anyway, there's Green Ghost, who's Green Lantern, but she also has some of Martian Manhunter's powers. And the two of them hang out a bunch because they're both like kind of aliens.
Kind of.
Then there's who's the other one? There's Warrior Woman, I think, is their Wonder Woman knockoff.
Essentially, and Nightwing, who is Batman.
Darkwing,
my bad. Darkwing Duck. I mean, Darkwing.
Yes. Mom mentioned that too. We were watching Invincible, and they were like talking about Darkwing, and she goes, "Yeah, he's a duck." So yeah, there's Darkwing, who's basically their version of Batman. Is that it? No. Then there was Black Samson, but Black Samson leaves before the events of Invincible.
Yeah, because he loses his powers.
Yeah, he loses his powers, so he's no longer a member before the events of Invincible. And then, is that it? No, there's Red Rush, who's the version of their Flash. And then there's Aquarius, who is a fish man.
Supposed to be
to fill in for Aquaman, because the Atlanteans in their universe are all fish people.
Nice.
And I think that's all of them. So a few major changes. Oh, and then there's the Immortal. And so the Immortal is a guy who basically, he has powers similar to Superman. He has very strong skin. He can fly. He doesn't have supervision or anything, but he's like very strong. Very super strength. He also has Deadpool levels of regeneration. If you put him back together, he basically comes back to life.
All right.
So the only way to kill him and keep him dead is to cut him up and move him very far away from himself. So anyway, those are the Guardians of the Globe. The main plot in Invincible, it happens at the end of episode 1, but it happens in issue 6 of the actual comic. Is that Omni-Man, who is Invincible's father, who is also has very similar powers to Superman. He has unbreakable skin, he is incredibly strong, he has flight, doesn't have laser vision. Nobody has laser vision in this show, or in this comic. I think maybe Robert Kirkman understood how fucking broken Superman's laser vision actually is, and like kind of neuters the entire everything. Jordan, just for a second, imagine Omni-Man if he had laser vision.
I mean, I don't see why any of what he needs to do would be a problem if he did.
It's so fucking good. Anyway, what happens at the end of episode 1 and at the end of issue 6 in the comic is that Omni-Man breaks or summons all the Guardians of the Globe to their headquarters and then murders them all.
Nice.
And that's the main conflict of Invincible, is that Invincible finds out his dad murdered all the Guardians, and then we go like from there. In the show, because it happens in episode 1 versus episode 6, some of the storylines that happened between episode 1 and 6 are now happening, or issues 1 and 6 are now happening after he's murdered the Guardians of the Globe. So there's like situations where maybe they would have shown up in the comic book, but now they don't show up because they weren't there. Because they're dead.
They only showed up like once in the comic book before they died, though.
I think so. And then there's also like a few fights where Immortal shows up, but Immortal can't show up now because Immortal's currently dead.
Right, yeah. When they remake the new Guardians, Immortal's there.
Yeah. So the part when Battle Beast is beating everybody up, Immortal shows up to help save them. So, like, there's a lot of differences for stuff like that, like with some of the storylines. So some of the episodes where, like, the storylines it'll be like, oh, this part's from, like, episode 3, or issue 3, and this part's from issue 18, and this part's from issue 7. And that's, like, just a weird kind of mashup of some of the events.
Yeah. Like, I haven't even gotten to the part, well, like I just said, I haven't even gotten to the part where they fight Battle Beast again.
Yeah, also in the comic, Damien Darkblood, who is the demon investigator, he's like fucking Constantine. Yeah, he's fucking Constantine from DC. And he's doing like all the Constantine shit. In the show, he's incredibly good at his job. In the comic, after everything happens, right after we're like to the point where Invincible's in the hospital after the fight with Omni-Man, where he decides that he's not going to join him in taking over the world, that's when Damien Darkblood's like, I think I've got a hint as to who it is. And you're like, God damn it, Damien. It's like everybody knows who did it. Omni-Man did it. It was on TV. Damien, you're a bit behind. That's pretty funny. Also in the TV show version, Omni-Man is a very different person when we're going to get to that fight. What I assume is probably going to be episode 8 or 10 of the show. Depending on how long the season is. Because their fight is miserable. It's like actually kind of emotional, and it's pretty fucked up. Also, there's another thing about Invincible, which I want to mention here, maybe just so I don't forget it. The Viltrums, is that what they're called?
Viltrumites.
They can survive fucking anything.
Yeah.
Like,
they're like practically immortal.
Oh my god, they're so fucking strong. They like They can't regrow bones, as far as I know. But
Good luck breaking them.
they can regrow skin. If you reset their bones, they'll heal in like a matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
If you shatter their skull and you put it back together, it'll regrow back to normal. This has happened to multiple Viltrumites throughout the comic book, just so people know. Their skulls have been broken to pieces and grown back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They've had they've had eyeballs floating out of their skull and just gone back to normal later. Fucking their face damage. They've been disemboweled and just healed over it.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like a darker superhero story.
It's a very dark superhero story, but it's also like not dark at the same time. It very much like if you do you know anything about The Boys, John? Juan?
Yes, I love The Boys.
Okay, so
I was
imagine
going to compare it to The Boys, actually.
yeah. Imagine The Boys, but everything's way more colorful.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like everybody's costumes is bright yellow and blues and stuff, and it very like The Boys, Invincible, and I think Injustice are all spawned from like the same thing, like the same roughly. Not Injustice exactly, because I think Injustice is like the second wave of it, but I think actually I think it's like third wave.
Just that concept of like, what if the superheroes were bad?
Yeah. Or like not good, like you know what I mean.
Just
Like,
weren't
they don't have to be bad, but
the
it's like
full
this
hero.
is like their job, not like them feeling that this is what's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing it because like he's this pure just person. He's like, no, someone's paying me, or I finally had a psychotic break or some shit. Like some of the weird shit Homelander does. You're like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah. So we got Stormwatch, I think is the other one, or Authority. Maybe they're the same thing. But they're like the other one. They're like I don't know if Warren Ellis wrote that one or if he just wrote stuff in the same universe as that one. But yeah, so like a bunch of different comic book authors basically were doing the same thing in their own versions of the universes. Like there's what's his name who did The Boys. He worked for DC for a bit, and then DC read that issue where the Boys force Starlight to. Anybody who's seen episode 1 of The Boys knows exactly what I'm talking about. So,
yeah.
that scene forced him to not be able to write for DC anymore, and he went and did it in a different comic from then on. But that used to be DC. It wasn't part of the DC universe, but it was a DC title.
Gotcha.
I think it was Vertigo, probably. So, which is the DC adult titles. It's just a bit too adult for DC. They just didn't like that.
But then they still had Watchmen, which was
Yes, but Homelander wasn't. Dr. Manhattan, while a reference to Superman, is not literally Superman.
Oh yeah.
But going by a different name.
Right. Yeah. True.
That's what Homelander is. That's the problem they had, was because Homelander is so close to Superman, published as a Vertigo comic, which is owned by DC. They did not feel that it was good for their brand to have that all linked together.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Makes sense.
Yeah. That was like their problem, which is kind of funny. Because to me, I have the same argument Jordan does, which is, you fucking published Watchmen. Like, like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, this isn't. The comic also for Injustice, The Boys is also like very, I think, early 2000s edge, whereas now it's a bit different.
Mm-hmm. Some things you have to change to fit the times.
It takes a lot of Disney influences now, which it didn't do before.
I mean, I could see it like maybe, some mom goes to buy her son the new Superman comic, and she accidentally grabs, The Boys comic, and next thing you know, she's seeing this Homelander doing some weird shit. And you're like,
Yeah.
well.
Well,
Tim, you're
now we know
smart
that
now.
company's being sued because Mother made a bad choice. You know how it is. How
Yeah,
life is
anyway.
now.
So back to Invincible. So it's very interesting that there's a lot of changes. One of the changes that I noticed in episode 1, which caught me off guard for a minute until I remembered and I realized what had happened. In episode 1, William is openly gay, and that's a thing that doesn't actually happen until like issue 100 almost.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
it's
because
not
he's like
that
a
he's
super
not
ladies
gay.
man.
It's just that the atmosphere around homosexuals in the mid 2000s, when he would have first been created as a character, is not the same as it is now in 2020.
Yeah.
So him being openly gay and able to accept that that's who he is and not trying to suppress it or anything is a thing that makes a lot of sense in Invincible for them to do at the start. Like, it's one of those changes that you would do because it's now more modern. William would be openly gay. They use smartphones instead of those blocky giant cell phones that they had at the start of Invincible.
Yeah.
He now has his earpiece from the start of Invincible instead of the pager. Like a bunch of, because technology changed a bunch between when Invincible started and now. Society changed a bunch, so there's a lot of like little changes that they wanted to make. They also had a lot of conversations that Omni-Man has with Invincible much later in the comic after they come meet each other again. Now, like, so the Invincible that is going to fight Omni-Man at like the end of season 1 will be a much stronger Invincible than he was at the end of issue 9 or whatever, when he actually fights him out.
It was like issue 9, you're right. I think.
Something like that. It's pretty early. But he'll be much stronger because he'll know that like working out is what will increase his strength, because it does.
Mm-hmm.
He knows Cecil right away instead of only meeting Cecil after his dad leaves.
Yeah.
That's also like a weird change. There's been no setup for Angstrom Levy yet, even though Angstrom Levy is before storylines that are happening now in the comic or in the show.
Wait, who's Angstrom Levy again?
Angstrom Levy's the guy with the giant red brain.
Oh. I haven't gone that far back in the comic again.
He looks red to me, but I'm colorblind. He might just be black. So he started black, and I don't know if he turns red through his transformation, or if it's just me being colorblind and he just kind of looks red to me.
I don't remember shit. I can't remember.
Because there's a lot of red lighting around him, so it's like really hard for me to tell. I'm colorblind. Sorry, people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so something happens with him and the Mauler twins. One of the Mauler twins dies. And it like mutates the other one, and then he resurrects his other one, and then he makes a new clone. Okay, so the Mauler twins are this group of supervillains in the Invincible universe. They kind of just show up and do like low, not that high tier crime. They kind of just rob banks and shit. But there's just these two giant blue guys, and one of them is the clone, and the other one's the original. And that's like their whole joke, is that neither one knows which is which.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for much longer later in Invincible, neither one's the original. They're both clones, because the original is in hiding, because of course he is.
Because why would you? Why would you not?
Yes.
If you have two clones going out there to go fight and do all the things you want them to do, why would you put yourself at risk?
Yeah. So that's basically all the shit that happens in there, and between them, yeah, the Mauler twins are pretty funny. They're not like that bad. They mostly are like really greedy. Like they are super strong. They do a lot of damage, but all the time it's always like, well, we just want money so that we can do the thing that we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, at a certain point, you're wondering, like, Did you guys ever think about just trying to work with the government? Because that's where everybody else with superpowers goes.
Yeah.
Like, guys aren't dumb. Like, you guys can work for the government. The government will give you a job. They'll have you invent shit for them. Like, you think your cloning technology and downloading your brain wouldn't be used by, like, fucking Cecil and just throw his clones around everywhere?
I mean, Robot already... In the show, Robot's already grabbed him. I mean, in the comic book, it happens, like... I don't remember if Robot even uses them in the comic, does he?
He does. He does.
Okay.
Basically, everything happens the same way, but it's after Angstrom Levy.
Right.
But, yes, the thing is that one of the clones does die before he goes to do Robot. That happens in both versions. He one of his clones dies, he makes a new one, and then he goes and meets Robot after that.
Yeah, I can't remember anything that I read when I originally read it like 15 years ago.
Yeah, so it's very weird having like some things happen out of order because you're like, when is the big bad showing up? Because Angstrom Levy is like one of the big bads in Invincible. He's the closest thing he has to an arch nemesis in the comic. And it's an interesting choice to like go, well, let's not worry about Angstrom right now. Let's worry about like the Mauler twins and Robot. Let's worry about the other stuff. How they get out of the prison in the comic is Angstrom pulls them out. Robot doesn't do it. Angstrom
Right, yeah.
And then Robot contacts them after everything that happens with Angstrom Levy. So it's also kind of weird for me because it is so different from the comic book in the show, and so is like Walking Dead and stuff. But the difference is that like there's a lot of what the spirit of the comic book was trying to do there. I guess that's because Rockford Kirkman is actually working with the show writers, as compared to The Walking Dead, where he basically had nothing to do with it. He also makes a very interesting comment about The Walking Dead in Invincible, because there's a villain who shows up called the Walking Dread, and when the villain is defeated, the superhero defeats him is like, I don't know what he was, but he was just so greedy and just ate up so much energy. And you're like, okay, I don't know if you're commenting about how much it took out of you to keep writing The Walking Dead, or if you're talking about the franchise itself, or like what. But it was definitely a reference to The Walking Dead and how much energy it was like stealing, either whether it was from him or it was just the franchise itself as a whole and him trying to help anybody who was trying to do anything with the franchise. Because I don't know how much he had to do with any of it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how much he had to do with the games. I know he had almost nothing to do with the show.
Right.
You know, it's like a whole thing.
I made it 2 seasons in that show. Probably like, all right, this shit's fucking boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The show was not nearly as exciting as the comic was. For me, anyway.
What is it? Like, the season 2 of the show is covered by, like, issue 18 or something in the comic. Like, you're already past that point.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, and so some of the problem was not just that it was so different from the comic. It was also part of the reason why it was so different from the comic, because a lot of it had to do with like actor contracts and shit, and like you can't, and like, you know, TV censorship and stuff. Like Carl doesn't use a gun until he's much older in the show, and it's because we can't have a kid using a gun on TV.
Yeah.
Shane, that's his name, right?
Yeah, the original.
The antagonist for part 1. He dies so much earlier.
Yeah, he dies like the first issue. Or the second issue.
He doesn't die in the first issue. He doesn't live very long, though. He dies pretty quick. And not only that, they had apparently in the show, because I didn't actually watch the show, but I knew about a bunch of the scenes. The scene where Shane dies happens in the show much earlier than when he dies. The whole standoff in the forest between Rick and Shane, like, that doesn't end without one of them dying in the comic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in the show, it's like it does, and you're like, what?
Yeah. And then they just go back, and then he dies later or something.
Yeah, and there's like this whole part with Andrea, like, I think that's one of my other problems was like Andrea was this character that I really liked in the comic, and then it's like, well, you know, let's turn her into the polar opposite of her comic book version. Then let's make a bunch of this show about a character who wasn't even in the comic, who you have no attachment to because I have no reason to care about them. Yeah, all that stuff. But yeah, I like the Invincible comic a lot, and I do also like the show. I think J.K. Simmons is amazing as Omni-Man. I think if you have like a graying, mustachioed man, J.K. Simmons basically, you know, fits that bill. You know what I mean? Like, he's J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies. He's Cave Johnson in the Portal series.
Yeah.
Just a lot of good voices.
For some reason, when Diana pointed him out, I was like, she was like, "Hey, isn't that J. Jonah Jameson?" I was like, "No, that's Cave Johnson." And for some reason, my brain didn't connect. Those are the same. That's the same actor.
Yes.
So I had a very dumb moment. Well, a lot of very dumb moments, but that was one
Blow
of
it
them.
up with the lemons.
Yeah.
A favorite rant of his.
Yes.
When life gives you lemons, you take those lemons and you shove them back in life's face. How dare life give you lemons? You will make life rue the day that it gave you lemons.
I think he says rue the day that you decided to give Cave Johnson.
Oh yeah,
lemons.
that's what he says. I don't remember the quote exactly, okay? I haven't played Portal 2 in like 5 years.
Fucking J.K. Simmons is just like, he's so good at what he does.
Yeah.
But when I watch Invincible, I have to say, like, on the one hand, I'm a bit sad that instead of doing the whole thing where he's like the hero being around, we don't get that as much. We now get him as like this semi-villain, or this villain who just murdered the Guardians of the Globe, who's just kind of chilling out and hasn't done anything like major yet.
Yeah, and like he seems so far in the show to actually take a more I don't really care about these people turn. Like when they're on vacation or something and there's a dragon, it's like a dragon, right? That's destroying the town behind them, the city behind them, and he's like, I'm not gonna do anything because we're on vacation until his wife says something, and then he goes and deals with it.
No, he sits there and she's like, now deal with it, and he goes, let Cecil earn his paycheck.
Oh yeah, that's
and that's when the scene ends. He doesn't do anything at the end of the scene.
Yeah, whereas in the comic, he would have just dealt with it right away without even... As far as we knew him when he was involved, he would have just dealt with it.
But that was before he did the Guardians murder thing.
Yeah, true.
In the comic, before he did the Guardians murder, like, stuff like that would happen, and what you would see would be, like, you'd see him sitting in the chair, and then you'd see a blur, and then you'd see him sitting in the chair again, and whatever the problem was now dealt with.
Yeah.
Also, the fight with the Guardians was expanded, and oh my god, was that such a better fight?
Yeah.
Like,
where Omni-Man actually was on the ropes for it? Yeah.
Yeah, because it, like, not only are these people actually should be able to do maybe some damage to Omni-Man, given the extent of Omni-Man's powers that we've seen in Invincible throughout the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not Thrag, but he is very strong. But at the same time, for me to sit here and believe Red Rush, who is basically like the Flash who can perceive like minute changes in things incredibly quickly, and then you're like, he has no idea any of this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in the comic, it kind of makes us feel that he outclasses Red Rush that much in speed, but he doesn't. Like, there's no point in the comic where he ever displays that level of ability again.
Yeah, where Red Rush, you literally go the next frame and he's still sitting there, but he's all of a sudden in costume. Whereas with Omni-Man, you have a frame where he's gone for a second. You know?
And also, that scene, oh my god. So, it is also one of the best scenes in the Snyder Cut, is actually a scene very similar to that. Where, Superman is fighting the now trying to form up Justice League, and as he's fighting two of them, like Cyborg and Wonder Woman, you see his face slowly turn, and he's watching the Flash like run past him, and the Flash is like turning to him in like surprise and like slow motion. He's like, he can follow me. I'm fucked.
Wait, I thought that happened in the original movie too?
It did.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, in the Snyder Cut, it just plays better. Only because I remember the Snyder Cut version versus the original version. I don't remember the original movie at all.
Huh.
The Snyder Cut exists now. The original movie doesn't matter.
Well, I watch film theory and game theory and stuff. I know a lot of people don't really like MatPat and game theory, film theory, food theory, all that shit, but I like it. Anyway, he has a theory that the Snyder Cut is the good ending and the regular Justice League was the bad ending. Like, it's splitting the multiverse, where they're both canon, but one goes one way, which is towards like the Nightmare, where Batman is like killing people and has to team up with the Joker to take down Superman or something, and the Snyder Cut is the good ending, where everyone's actually going to lead to the ending they want.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't give a shit.
It's just a theory.
It doesn't matter, because the other ending is the ending that fucking the corporate Warner Brothers is like, we can't have this ending. That's what it really is.
Right, yeah.
Doesn't matter his film theory version.
Yeah, I know.
The reality is, Warner Brothers saw Snyder's ending, it was like, we can't have this. And so they made a different ending.
So what happens at the Snyder ending? Spoiler alert.
Everybody dies.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so the difference between the two endings is, importantly, I guess, spoiler alert for Juan, because he probably still hasn't watched it, and now that I've told him this, he's probably never will. The original ending is, I don't even fucking remember the original ending, but I remember like the Flash is basically doing fuck all the entire fight. So in the Snyder Cut ending, they're like on the ropes fighting Steppenwolf, right? They don't really have their hand on him. Even when Superman shows up, like, it's still like very close to fight with Steppenwolf. In the Snyder Cut, Superman comes in and Steppenwolf gets obliterated. He does not stand a chance against Superman. Superman destroys Steppenwolf because of course he does. He's basically a living weapon, and they just pointed him in the right direction. Like, that's what his power level should be in the Justice League. That's why the whole plot of Injustice is opening the portal and pulling Superman through. So when he shows up, fucking Steppenwolf is outclassed. There's nothing Steppenwolf can do. Everything now is relying on Cyborg's ability to control the Mother Box, which he is struggling to do and can't do without the Flash's power-up. The Flash breaks his leg and loses all of his momentum and can't actually get there in time to do the thing. So the Mother Boxes explode and destroy the world. The Flash phases himself out of reality temporarily, which is a thing he can do. Like, this is actually a canon thing he has done, so it's not like some bullshit they pulled out of Ex Machina the ending.
Not plot magic?
uses the Speed Force to run so fast he turns time backwards, which again is a thing he can do. And if you're wondering how this heals his broken leg, it does it in fucking Flashpoint 2, so don't, like... it's not out of... It has healed his broken legs before. Like, fuck the Speed Force.
It's essentially
so anyway,
hacks.
It heals his broken leg, and he runs back in time, and as he's running towards them, the world goes back to normal, and you see the split instant where the Mother Box destroyed Superman and everything. And then he puts his hand on Cyborg's shoulder, which gives him the energy, and he rips the boxes apart and stops it. And that's the Snyder Cut ending. And it's a bajillion times better. Because now everything happened. And then I don't remember what happens to Steppenwolf. He dies, but I don't remember how he dies. I don't think Superman kills him. I think maybe Darkseid like kills him through the portal or something. But he like dies, and like the whole fight, I don't remember this in the original, which is like the whole fight, Darkseid has like a portal open and is just like watching it the whole time. Everything that's happening in the ending, he's just sitting there watching it through his portal. He's like, this is interesting.
Makes sense. You want to go in there and fuck with that shit till you figure out how to beat it.
Right.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, the Snyder Cut is a way better ending. One, because Superman like fucking destroys Steppenwolf, which he should. And two, because Flash fucking saves the day. Like, fuck off, Flash pushing a car outside the range of whatever the fuck was happening in the original ending. The Flash having to go back in time and save shit is like his fucking plot point in so much of his storylines. And then you're gonna like rip that away from him to have a different ending and basically cut him out of the movie. The same with Cyborg. Like both of them are almost completely removed from the movie, basically. In terms of in terms of what the Justice League cut versus the Snyder Cut. The Snyder Cut is just 100 times better. If you're a fan of Cyborg, if you're a fan of Flash, if you liked fucking 300, you will like the Snyder Cut. Period.
If you like 300.
Like
300 is like his first work.
No, I know. I just find it funny because it's like, if you like 300, most people that liked 300 just liked the fact that it had glistening abs over the entire thing.
Fucking King Leonidas just show up and kick someone into the hole.
But the thing is that if you like a Snyder movie like either 300 or Watchmen, Justice League Snyder Cut, I think easily blows Watchmen out of the water, and I think it's really close to 300 as his best movie. So if you liked 300, like, you'll probably like Justice League, unless Snyder Cut. Unless the only reason you liked 300 is because there's a lot of abs. I mean, there is a lot of abs
in the Justice League. Yeah,
there's a lot of abs in Justice League, but
you could probably also get that fixed from Avengers.
But I mean,
with Thor and Captain America and all that.
Yeah, but they're not Jason Momoa or Henry Cavill.
Well, if you want Jason Momoa, you could get that from Stargate Atlantis too.
He was not nearly as jacked in Stargate Atlantis as he is now.
Okay, you're right, but he was still pretty jacked.
He
was realistically jacked as compared to Snyder Cut.
Speaking of jacked, I know this is spoiler for fucking Invincible, and I don't really want to mention it for anybody who wants to just enjoy the show and not know things that are really, really far out to come. The leader of the Viltrumites is a super jacked Freddie Mercury.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I in no way am kidding. He is like literally Freddie Mercury. Like if you watch the I can't remember which concert it was, but it's the concert that's the main concert in the movie that they made recently, a couple years ago. The one where he's got the white shirt and like the blue jeans.
Oh, the one where the meme comes from. Freddie Mercury memes.
That is literally the head that is on Thrag, who is the leader of the Viltrumites, is Freddie Mercury's head from that concert stuck on like fucking what's his name?
I don't.
John Cena.
Oh,
Just
okay.
like stuck on John Cena's body. It's like, imagine Freddie Mercury's head on John Cena's body, and that is the leader of the Viltrumites.
I don't like it.
It's funny though. It has been over an hour, Zach, just so you know. That is some pretty good insight, Matt. That is a great thing to say.
Yeah, the Invincible thing sounds cool. I'll still never watch Snyder Cut or any Justice League shit. I don't know. Just not my cup of tea. But I like the whole, heroes are people to kind of concept and they have flaws. Which is what really fucking draws me away from Superman more often than not.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might, as I said, there's probably storylines with Superman and shit that you might like I'm trying to remember the one. Look, I just posted a picture of him in Discord. He's fucking Freddie Mercury's head on John Cena's body. That is literally what he looks like. Anyway, oh, fuck, what was I talking about? Like, one of the more recent ones, I think, is Dark Knight's Metal, I think is what it's called. Maybe something like that. So dark metal. Anyway, it's very metal reference, but it's as though the entire Justice League was evil, but they are all Bruce Wayne. So it's Bruce Wayne with a Green Lantern ring. It's Bruce Wayne with like Wonder Woman's armor. It's Bruce Wayne with like I think there's maybe a Superman version. The Superman version is he injects himself with the Doomsday Serum, so he's Doomsday Superman or Batman. And then
literally Bruce Wayne, or like they have Bruce Wayne levels of plot armor and.
They are Bruce Wayne.
Oh, okay.
And then there's Bruce Wayne Aquaman, who is actually she's from a gender reversed universe where everybody's genders are swapped. So it's Bryce Wayne Superman. Or Aquaman, and so she's the Drown, and then there's the main one who's like the real villain, who's like the popular one who didn't go away after the event, is the Batman Who Laughs, who is Bruce Wayne Joker. But they are literally all Bruce Wayne, but like something else has happened to them, and it's like ridiculous. It's a fucking ridiculously stupid storyline. There's like a few like really good but really stupid storylines in Justice League. The worst part is they don't always coordinate big events with the currently running titles. In that you'll have shit that's happening like New 52, which is like all the universes reset, but like Batman was in the middle of a storyline and Batman's storyline didn't end, but now it's also New 52 at the same time. So the universe reset in the middle of that storyline, but the storyline still played out as though the universe didn't reset in it. Like, it's fucking stupid. Like,
weird.
You know, DC sometimes they're like really good at it, and sometimes they're just like don't seem to communicate in-house enough. And
I really feel like that's just the coming and going of authors, though. Because like you'll have some authors that'll write a character really well and keep like their power levels in check, and then you have whatever asshole came up with the Speed Force,
or like all the fucking Golden Age shit Superman could do. Like, oh, he speaks to you in space through super ventriloquism, and you're like, that's not ventriloquism. That's not how that works. That's not a power. Or like the time, like there used to be a website, I don't know if it still exists, it's called like superdickery.com, and you would go through all Golden Age Superman, and it was every time he was like a dick to someone, which was a lot. He was very much a dick to people a lot of the time. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's not like it's just a DC thing where they go through some bad writers. Like Marvel also suffers from it. Like you'll have, some Hulk storylines where he's just a big strong monster, and you have other ones where it's like he's so strong he can fart and destroy the planet. Like can y'all make up your minds?
And it's like, what is it? It's like they were doing this interesting storyline with Spider-Man when I was reading it, which was about like how he's like, I think it also like has to do with like how the author takes the series. I think one of the strengths of Invincible is that the author is very much willing to comment on how he has done things. Very close to issue 100, he has a comic where something really dark happens for like no reason, and the next page is the author of Science Dog talking to Mark and going, "Yeah, I just did something really dark for like no reason, and it was because we were getting close to issue 100, and I thought it would be like a good idea to just like grab the audience." And then Mark's like, "Did it work?" And he's like, "Well, no, but I did it anyway." And you're like, "Yeah, you just fucking did that in your own comic, you meta-narrative nonsense dude." But yeah, he does a lot of little jabs like that. There's a part where he's talking to the same guy much earlier though, and he's like, "How do you pump them out so fast?" And he's like, "Well, sometimes I like to use the same panel over and over again with the same artwork to like cause dramatic pause."
And then it shows the same
Mark's
panel.
like, "Isn't that kind of cheap?" And then like in the comic, it's like the same panel like 6 times. Like the meta narrative to fucking Invincible as the comic is pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
I think it also got like a bunch of spin-offs. I think Guardians of the Globe became a spin-off during the time when Invincible quote unquote died.
Would it have been
the character, not the comic? I think the comic was on like hiatus for like 2 months or something, and the character like died. Quote unquote died. I think when he quote unquote dies, the comic goes on hiatus for like a couple months.
Right.
To like sell his death, I guess. It's like the thing JoJo did in like part 6. So what was I talking about? Invincible?
Who knows?
I don't know. I'm looking forward to the fight with Invincible because like I'm already like when I'm rereading Invincible, like it's just J.K. Simmons talking to me every time I see on the page.
Yeah, now when I'm rereading the comic, every time I see what someone says, I imagine the voice actor from the show.
Yeah. It's like really good. The fight with Battle Beast is like one of those like really fucked up moments in Invincible, like where it kind of comes out of nowhere. Like he basically can handle the fight. It's a room full of like C-list supervillains who just cause like minor crimes and shit. And he comes in with this other villain, and they come in and they beat up basically everybody except Battle Beast, who basically destroys everyone.
Yeah.
And after that issue, like in the next issue, when like they're all like getting patched up and shit, Mark asks like Cecil, like, "Who the fuck is Battle Beast?" And Cecil's like, "Well, they were all a bunch of like D-listers who nobody gave a shit about, but Battle Beast is like the real thing, and we don't know where he came from or what he does, and he's gone now, so..."
Yeah. But the thing about Battle Beast, like in the comic, I don't know if it I don't remember if it showed this in the show, but in the comic, wasn't he like honor bound? Like he refused to do anything if it wasn't honorable unless he was getting money or something?
But he was seeking, he was like the extreme version of Goku.
Right, seeking a powerful fight.
Yeah, he was looking for a powerful opponent. And he was willing to basically do anything to get it.
Right.
Which is like his current plotline, is that he is going to hunt somebody very powerful. Battle Beast is a fucking weird ass character. And also in a lot of ways, the Viltrumites, I guess is a spoiler for the show because it hasn't revealed this yet. The Viltrumites in Invincible are very similar to the Saiyans of Dragon Ball. They go to planets, they basically take it over, and then they make it join their galactic empire. Which is only slightly different from the Saiyans in that the Saiyans sell the planet.
Yeah.
Which is also the current storyline in Dragon Ball Super involves one of the planets that the Saiyans sold back then.
Huh.
Which is also nice because that has not been really a thing ever in Dragon Ball. It's barely touched.
Yeah, it's just said that that's their backstory, and then it never goes back to it.
Yeah, so we get a new character who wakes up from a dream screaming, and in the dream, he sees Bardock destroying his house. And then when it goes around his village and it starts to explain what happened, you realize that he's on a planet that was sold that the Saiyans took over. And now he has to live with the new occupants who are... they're nice enough, but they're not his people.
Right.
Because his people are...
Because it's like whatever kind of people bought the planet or whatever.
Yeah. It's a bunch of... Oh my god, it's so stupid. So they're from their planet Cereal, I think? And the people who bought it are the Shugarians. And his name is Granola.
Yeah. I'm sure it was going to go in that direction.
Running out of ideas, huh?
No, this is Space Dragon Ball. I don't know.
That's Space Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that's Space Dragon Ball.
Yeah, their names are like vegetable,
Kakarot, carrot, Vegeta,
lettuce, cauliflower, kale,
radish.
So glad I never got into this show.
Dragon Ball's fucking great. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, even as a little kid, I'd watch this fucking shit. And I'm like, these guys are just standing here screaming at each other for the whole fucking episode. And they're like, find out what happens next. I'm like, I'm gonna guess. More fucking screaming.
No, what happened next would usually be a single punch and then 20 more minutes of screaming.
Okay, hold on. The manga exists. It's not nearly as long, and most of the screaming for no reason is taken out.
Well, you mean
some of the screaming,
when you say taken
not,
out, you mean not put in, because the manga was first.
I know, you know what I mean. The manga's a much easier read. Some of the panels are much better too. Like, there's this slow turn Vegeta does after he gets punched by Cell, and it like doesn't hurt him. That like in the anime they can't really convey it the same way the manga does because it's like a page. Like it's the last shot of the page is Cell punching Vegeta in the face, and then the next page is like 3 panels of Vegeta like slowly turning back towards Cell, and it's like fucking amazing. Like the paneling, the way it's done, like it makes you like take your time and get there. So like when he looks back at him, it like hits so much better than like the anime version, which. You know,
the problem with Dragon Ball is
Kai exists now. So
yeah, if you're gonna watch Dragon Ball, watch Kai, because the
problem with Dragon Ball, and then when you get to Z, you watch Kai.
Yeah. Anyway, like the problem with Dragon Ball from before is it was just so filled with filler because it was like lining up with where the manga was.
It was like 6 months ahead.
That it was that all those times when they were just standing there powering up and 5 minutes taking 3 or 4 episodes was because they needed time for the manga to keep getting further ahead.
Yeah, and some of the shots where it's like really obvious is I don't know if you know the scene at all, Juan, but it's like one of the most famous scenes in Dragon Ball Z is Goku's like standing there in front of Frieza, and he's like, "I am the Super Saiyan, Son Goku," or whatever, just before he like pummels the shit out of Frieza. And Frieza's like, "No, you can't be," kind of shit. And in the manga, it like changes camera angles like 6 times, like for each panel, and it emphasizes each part of it. And in the anime, it's just like one shot of Goku the whole time. While Frieza's having his little panic attack in the like off screen.
If there's any episode of Dragon Ball Z you need to see that's not in Kai, that I think everyone should watch. It's the episode where Goku and Piccolo get their driver's licenses. Well, try to get their driver's licenses.
That is one hell of an episode. That's like literally like a plot from something like the Tick or something.
If there is no episode in Dragon Ball Z that you ever watch, you should definitely watch that one.
No, it's like they have to get their driver's license. Like, why do I need to drive? I can just fly everywhere.
It's a great episode.
Like, the worst part is fucking Chi-Chi being like, well, you have to get a car so I can drive places. And it's like, Chi-Chi, you're not so far behind Goku that you can't learn to fucking fly.
Yeah, I know. She should be able to learn to fly. If Videl can learn to fly, she should be able to learn to fly.
She can. She's choosing not to. She's choosing to turn away from the martial arts part of her life.
She wants to have a quote-unquote normal life that she shouldn't even really need that much. She's half giant. People seem to forget this. She is half giant
for a very long time.
I definitely forgot it.
She's half giant, and the giant that she is the daughter of has shitloads of money, and she's been living off that for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. Until it runs out in Dragon Ball Super.
What's the joke in Abridged? Why don't you just buy yourself a house with the Ox King's money?
Right. Yeah.
Where do you live? And he's like, in a house with my wife.
Yeah.
Fucking super. Fucking Abridged. Abridged is pretty funny.
I remember that, yeah. Because that is essentially what it is. Because the Ox King bought Gohan's old house. Isn't that where they live?
Yeah, they live on I think the front part, the dome part, is the Gohan's house, and then everything else is added onto it. The little dome. Which, I think that's what it is. Dragon Ball's one of those things. Like, it came out in like a weird time. It came out much later in America than it did in Japan. So some of its like references are like 30 years out of date. And I mean, there is like a Superman analog to Goku. The problem is that Funimation like played up, and Ocean, I guess originally, both played up the Superman angle for Goku, and they took out actually a lot of the humor of the original show. So, but for the redub for Kai, it does put a bunch of that back in, and I think that's also what caught a bunch of the American audience like really off guard, was when like Super started airing, and when we got to Kai, people were like, why is Goku so funny? Like, what is this? He was like this super serious, like super strong character, and it's like, no, Goku's like this goofy country bumpkin who can barely spell his own name.
Right. And like in the original,
he is really smart though, but it's just,
they called him like the guardian of Earth all the time and stuff, and he'd say, I'm saving people and stuff like that, but in the actual thing, he's just like, I just want to fight people.
Yeah, like the I'm Son Goku Super Saiyan, I'm the legendary Super Saiyan Son Goku line or whatever. It's in the English dub, it's like, I am the will of the universe come to right your wrongs or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. Goku is Goku. He likes to fight strong guys. That's his thing. He's like Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's some people he gets super pissed off at because they either kill innocent people or kill people he likes or just hurt people that he likes, but overall, he really just wants to fight.
Fight strong guys. He's a fight sexual. What? He wasn't attracted to Chi-Chi until she fought him.
True, but I think there's a different word for it, not fight sexual.
What is it?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Philic.
What'd you say?
Philic. I think fight sexual sounds a little bit easier to... Battlephilic feels like it's like really hard to even...
Battlephiliac?
get across, battlophilia, to like really try to get across what you're meaning. Because people will be like, "What the fuck?"
I think. Never mind.
I don't know. I do like Invincible. I know that somebody complained about changes that were made to Amber and her character.
Why?
And the problem was that their thumbnail was because their thumbnail.
They made Amber a better character.
Their thumbnail was showing both Ambers,
Okay.
and about like an arrow between them about which one they thought was better, which was the original Amber.
Oh, so it looked
And the
racist?
problem, it looked super racist in the thumbnail. I was like, I don't know what your argument is, but that looks really fucking racist. I'm sorry. You need to work on your thumbnail art and realize that was going to come out that way.
For you who doesn't know, Juan, Amber in the comics is white with blonde hair, and Amber in the show is black.
Yep.
So
such is the way of things these days.
it just makes it seem racist, I guess. But honestly, Amber from the show, she's a way better character so far that I've seen. She actually has character, is what I mean.
So a few of the things that changes from the show, which I kind of wanted to address, it feels like Omni-Man feels well more aware of which part of him is the act, which is not what he was at the end of that issue when he fights Invincible.
Yeah.
In this version, he feels so much more aware of which, that he actually does care about Debbie and Mark.
Yeah.
Which is very different from his comic book counterpart.
Where he was like, I don't care about any of this, and Mark was like, you do.
Yeah, he is like in the comic. There's this, his whole plot line is sort of him denying the changes that happened to him when he was on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And in this version, it feels like he's accepting part of those differences, which means that the final confrontation between him and Mark might be more emotional than its comic book counterpart. Which its comic book counterpart has the problem of Omni-Man isn't really explored before that point.
Yeah.
Before the fight with Mark. Like, that's really where he starts to become explored, is because of the circumstances that come out of that fight.
Yeah.
So it's very different to see this version of Omni-Man who's much more aware. It makes me question if, like, because either A, it's going to be like way more emotional when we get there, and it's going to be like a lot harder to watch, or it's going to be like really feel very disconnected. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why would he do this?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of situation, and that's the concern that I have for the show. But it's clear that they've read like all of Invincible, because stuff from way later Invincible are showing up now. Conversations between Omni-Man and Invincible are ones from like their second meeting, not from their fight.
Right.
But also, like, Amber, like, when he and Amber broke up and the reasons why they broke up, this version of Amber feels much harder for me, at least currently. I'm only on episode 5, like, it might change later down the line. Feels much harder for her to not accept some of the things that she is forced to deal with because of Invincible. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is like the reason they break up, like, because he goes to space all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm. Which is so far in the show, she's already dealt with him being gone for like weeks at a time out of nowhere.
Yeah. So like the trip to Mars is one of the parts that like puts a strain on their relationship. The difference in the comic versus the show is his reason for the trip to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
In like his excuse, I guess, for the trip to Mars. In the show, he doesn't have the excuse of, my dad died, this is happening, we have to go out of state.
Yeah.
In the show, because his dad's still around.
Yeah.
Nobody faked his death or anything. So that's a bit weird. And then there's also because I don't know when the second time he's going to go to space is the one that causes them to like break up.
Oh, you mean
is it the second time he goes to space, or is it?
I
something else.
do not remember.
I remember something happens.
I don't
There's
remember
the thing
anything
with
I
his
read.
little brother.
Mm-hmm.
And space.
Well,
And I don't remember if that's the one that causes them to break up, or that's the one that puts a lot of tension on their relationship that eventually leads to the breakup the second time he has to rush off and do something.
yeah, I don't know. But maybe that's why they're leading in a different direction, stuff like that. There's a lot of things they're changing and leading into a different direction, so it's probably... I mean, some of the things are going to happen like they did in the comic, but I assume some things are going to change, like, crazily. Not crazily, but...
Yeah. I still kind of assume that at some point he's going to break up with Amber and get together with Eve, because...
Right.
But maybe... Because the whole thing about Angstrom Levy and the supervillain, who hasn't been introduced yet, is that he goes through different realities and he knows what's in them. And so because of that existence of those other realities, this existence of a reality that's very similar but has a bunch of differences to the comic book versions is easily acceptable. Because this could just be another reality that our Mark didn't... This isn't our Mark from the comic, this is Mark from this universe. Which is true. That is what that is. That is Mark from this universe. But he feels very much like the Mark that we know from the comic book.
You're talking about, like, in the show?
Yeah. Because he is a different Mark, but...
Right. So you're suggesting the show is one of those different realities?
He could very easily be like one of those different realities. Like there's the reality where he went evil because Eve died when she was pregnant.
Right.
And then there's the reality where he went evil because he listened to his dad. And
Right.
there's all these other realities that do exist in the Invincible timeline.
Yeah.
So this is very easily could hit the same major story beats as the universe that we're familiar with, but also have some new story beats. Like,
Right.
will also have new story beats. Like, Omni-Man's around much more in the earlier part and gets a much more developed character.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he comes to terms with the Act much faster. Like, maybe he leaves Earth less because of what he did to Invincible, but more of like the I can't stay here anymore kind of thing.
Right.
Like, maybe they still get into the fight, but maybe Invincible's in a better condition after the fight. Like, or maybe it's mostly the same, but it's just like when he comes and meets him, he's much more friendly and I don't know. Invincible's crying the first time they meet and like hugs him immediately. Like, so I mean, there's a lot of I don't know. His road back to redemption is probably going to be smoother in the show.
Right.
Because it'll make more sense that that's who he was as compared to... It's just going to be hard for people like that one episode when he's going to fight Mark and like rip apart the city and kill thousands of people.
Right. It's gonna feel weird because we can't see that. I mean, we see it happening at the end of the first episode, but then nothing else. Nothing else really pushes it to that point. Except for when it shows like he doesn't really care about people sometimes. But it still shows that he cares about Debbie and Mark is the problem. Which is the whole problem.
What a story, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Yeah, okay. So anyway, let's start wrapping up. I think that's probably enough for Invincible. I very much like it. I do want to talk about Winter Soldier and Captain America, but I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the latest episode yet either.
I've seen the final episode, and
is it the final episode? This episode?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this episode's the final episode. One, if you like any of the grittier Marvel stuff, you'll probably like this one.
Yeah, I need to watch that one.
I very much enjoy it. We'll probably wait, like, unless you watch like at least one episode before we try to talk about it. That way you know whether or not you care about whether we spoil the ending or not.
Right.
Next time we do plan on talking about some of our adventures in tabletop RPGs and stuff. So that will probably take up the entire podcast, which is the only reason I didn't want to do it here was because we're done with the Invincible talk and we're way past time.
Yeah, loads of stories there. So
yeah. And then that gives us a couple more weeks to watch the end of Captain America and Winter Soldier. It's Falcon and Winter Soldier. I know. Just saying. They've both been Captain America at some point, so one of them was going to be slipped up in my brain as Captain America. It didn't matter which one.
Yeah. I was thinking that too. Like, they both become Captain America at some point in the timeline.
In the comic book, yeah, they've both been Captain. I guess neither one's Captain now, I think. Or Bucky is still Captain. I don't know. Steve Rogers was not Captain for a very long time. He became just like Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Also, it does do a lot of stuff. Invincible does do a lot of stuff from that's like kind of skirts Marvel, because Cecil is basically Nick Fury. So I mean, it's like both universes kind of combined. There's also a lot of Image stuff that kind of takes direct references from Marvel. I mean, like, it's not like Spawn isn't clearly inspired by Venom.
Right.
Well, that Spawn's not from Invincible. Spawn was from the 90s.
I said Image Comics.
Oh, my bad.
I said there's a bunch of Image Comics stuff that is taken from Marvel. Spawn is taken from the Venom symbiote. And if nobody believes that, when Spider-Man got the Venom symbiote, who was fucking drawing Spider-Man?
You know, you're right about the
author of Spawn.
No, stop. You know, you're right about the alternate universe thing. Because Science Dog in the comics, but in the show, Seance Dog.
Yeah, it's Seance Dog. That's so interesting. That's actually an interesting point to me. I don't know what they're doing with Seance Dog. I kind of wish he was a TV show in the universe and he would get to talk to the writer of it a couple times. And
you mean instead of
because he does talk to the writer of Science Dog. That is part of when the meta narrative of Invincible takes place, and I kind of want some of that to come in, but it be like Seance Dog is a TV show, and he talks to him about the show, and then it does show references like, oh, we stay on the same scene for a while because it's easy on our editors or something, and then it's just like the same scene for like 10 seconds.
Sounds stupid. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. And Zach, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me over at razielsomething.com, razielsomething at Twitter, or on Twitter, razielsomething, or at razielsomething on Twitter, razielsomething on Facebook. You can email me at razielsomething@gmail.com. And if you care about any of my writing stuff, you probably should read it. It's pretty decent. I like it a lot. I don't talk about any of it in this show. Maybe we should do a segment where I do. Or I could throw a scene together for you guys like in 15 seconds where you guys throw me like a character, a motivation, and a scene, and then I just do it just to show how fast I can. And then on top of that, what's the other thing I was thinking about? I'm not as good at character development. That's where I majorly feel like I need development. So if you read my stuff, please, you are more than welcome to give me constructive criticism about characters, about how maybe what directions you think maybe they should take, maybe some scenes that you maybe want to do. You probably should aim those at my Gmail though, because I don't want my fucking comment section on all my stories be people being like, well, this character should have done this. All right, that's me done.
Yeah, how story-driven you are. I really want to play like a tabletop with you at some point.
My problem is I don't like tabletop RPGs enough.
Yeah.
Really?
I've played a bunch of them, but I always get really bored and just like zone out and just don't do them anymore.
There have been a few that we've done with our older brother, and Zach just does not want to be part of them at all.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I would guess that maybe it's the way that I write that it like, I don't know. It
bothers you
weird.
When other people put together stories and they're just like, well, this is gonna happen or something like that, and it just doesn't. They don't seem to always put as much emotion and caring into the story or something like that.
I don't know. Maybe it's some things like where there's like a meta narrative to the story, and like I kind of pick up on it because I either know meta narratives too well, or I know more about the universe than maybe the person trying to DM, and then it starts to feel weird because they don't seem to understand that this part shouldn't happen. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about when we play with other people sometimes.
Yeah. I think a couple of our Warhammer 40k stuff, I think I knew too much about the universe in 40k, and I think nobody else did, and it kind of caused conflict between the way it was the stories were going.
Okay, this is something we can talk about next podcast. You'll have to wait a week for him to finish those concepts. Juan, where can they find you?
In a dark alley, selling drugs.
Dude.
Wow. Agents.
That's
I know it's not very cleric of me, but
you might have to cut out the
maybe.
just to make sure no one actually starts accusing Juan of doing stuff like that.
Minecraft.
Oh,
Yeah.
and in Minecraft?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're safe. It's in Minecraft.
Okay. Matt, tell them where they can find you.
Probably in that same dark alley.
Okay. And you know where you can find me, right here on the Stupid Nerdcast channel, or on twitch.tv/StupidNerdMan. That's where you'll find me when we do this podcast every Saturday, usually between 1 to 2. We did a little late today because of pre-existing conditions, but we try to do it every Saturday, so come on by and watch us live, or watch us on YouTube. Either way works for us. It helps. And like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye!